Welcome to our PHP web course. In this class, we will continue learning about working with string variables using PHP. PHP, as with all programming language, has many functions used to manipulate strings. Many of these you may never need to use. However, there are some that can be very handy at times. The ones that I will focus on are shown in red. Sometimes you want to find a substring, a portion of a string. There are two functions that PHP has, string toke and substr. Many times you might be interested in finding the length of a string, the number of characters in the string. This function is strlen. Sometimes you might be interested in finding out how many words are in a string. This function is str_word_count. Sometimes you might want to capitalize the first letter of a string. This is UC first. Sometimes you might want to make the entire string uppercase. This is str2upper. Sometimes you might want to make the entire string lowercase. This is str2lower. These are used a lot in comparing words so that you don't have to compare for all the different case variations, such as when they ask you those special questions to retrieve a password. We also can replace a value in a substring. This is str_I replace. We can remove whitespace, tabs, and new lines from the beginning and end of a string using the trim function. This is very valuable. We have learned that the user can enter bad data into a text box. Sometimes they might enter unwanted whitespace or a tab or the carriage return. And if we need to retrieve the value from that text box, we want to make sure that we are only working with the actual character data, not other characters. So the trim function can remove these. We sometimes might want to compare two strings, such as when you enter your password a second time, setting up an account. And this is the strcmp function. We might also be interested in finding the position of a string. That's strpos. Or finding the first occurrence of a string, strstr. So if you need to find out some information about the data, just keep in mind that there are a lot of functions available to use. Let's look at the substr function, and I'll just call it the substring function. It returns a part of a string. This is the syntax for using this function. It takes the string that you are searching in, where you want to start, and the number of characters you want to return. The first two parameters are required. Obviously, you need the name of the string in which you want to return a part of, and you would want to tell PHP where to start looking. The length is optional. If the length is not specified, it will return everything to the end based on where you started from. Here's an example of using the substring function, and I am using hello world as my string. Notice I am starting at position 0. Every string begins at position 0 in most programming languages, and I am telling PHP to extract 2 characters. The result would be HE, as shown here. We will now look at the string length function, and that just takes the string as a parameter. that will return the length of the string. So in my example, if I am using hello world as my string, it will return the number 11 because there are 11 characters, including the character of white space. Now let's look at the string to upper function. It will convert the entire string to uppercase. It takes one parameter, the string that you want to convert. And here in my example, again, I am using hello world. And if you look at the output, it is indeed all uppercase. We have looked at the trim function as removing white space, tabs, and carriage return. It takes one parameter, the name of the string that you want to remove the characters from. And if you look at the example, you can see I have a lot of white space. And if you look at the result, you see I don't have a lot of white space. So how do I know that those white space was really stripped? You really can't see it in the output. How you would know is by using the string length function that would count the number of characters, including all that white space. You could do that before and after to verify that indeed all that extra white space is being trimmed. The string compare function compares two strings to see if they are the same. This is case sensitive. Again, this would be very good for determining if the second email address matches the first email address, commonly done when signing up for an account the very first time. What this function will do, it will return 0 if the two strings are equal. And you can see here in my example, I have two strings. If it does not return 0, it will return a number based on some way it calculates which string is greater than the other. So the string compare function takes two parameters, the two strings that you are comparing, and here in my echo statement, I just hard-coded in the two strings, and you can see that they are equal because it returned a 0.